The medical bracelet slipped from little Neoma's backpack and clattered onto the cracked concrete floor. Folake's world stopped spinning. Her trembling fingers picked up the tiny plastic band, and her eyes locked on the faded inscription. Baby girl see mother. Folake Adewale, birth date, March 15th, 2020. No, 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 no. Her voice cracked as 5 years of grief exploded in her chest. They told me you were dead. All 3 of you were dead. Chibi stood frozen in the doorway of Folake's small tailoring shop, watching the woman his children adored fall to her knees. Clutching the bracelet like a lifeline, the triplets, Zara, Malik, and Neoma, rushed to her, their small hands reaching for her face. Auntie Folake, why are you crying? Malik whispered, but Folake couldn't speak. She could only stare at the 3 identical faces she'd been seeing in her nightmares for 5 years. The same faces a hospital told her she'd never see because her babies had been stillborn. You're mine, she sobbed, pulling all 3 children into her arms with a desperate, primal grip. You're my babies. My babies are alive. Chibi's blood ran cold as impossible truth crashed down on him. The abandoned orphans his late wife had brought home 5 years ago. The connection he couldn't explain. The way Folake knew exactly how to comfort each child. His wife had lied. The hospital had lied. And this poor seamstress was a mother who'd been mourning ghosts while her children lived just 50 miles away in a Lagos mansion. What have I done? He whispered, his billionaire disguise suddenly feeling like ash in his mouth. Hello, guys. Welcome to my Africantales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share with your friends. And most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I drop another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 3 weeks earlier, the crystal chandelier sparkled above the mahogany dining table, but the 3 small faces staring at their untouched jollof rice looked utterly miserable. Chibi's Okafor, CEO of TechWave Industries and one of Nigeria's wealthiest men, felt his heart fracture a little more. Another nanny had quit, the 5th one this year, and like the others before her, she left the same complaint. Mr. Okafor, your children are impossible. They need more than money can buy. Papa, when is someone going to stay? 5-year-old Zara's voice was barely a whisper. Chibiz looked at his triplets, Zara with her thoughtful eyes, Malik with his quiet sensitivity, and Neoma with her fierce spirit, and saw the same emptiness he'd been carrying for 3 years, since their mother passed away. Since then, he'd tried everything. The best nannies money could hire, private tutors, child psychologists. Nothing worked. The children weren't impossible. They were grieving. And every woman who came into their lives saw only Naira signs, not 3 broken hearts needing genuine love. I don't know, my love, he admitted, running his hand over his face. That evening, after putting the triplets to bed, Chibiz stood in his study, looking at the Lagos skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. His phone buzzed with another message from Ebier, a socialite who'd been pursuing him relentlessly. Chibiz, darling, let me take the children shopping tomorrow. They need a mother's touch. He'd seen her Instagram post last week, manifesting my billionaire husband and his cute accessories, kids emoji. Accessories. That's what his children were to these women. Stepping stones to his wealth. An idea began forming in his mind. Crazy, reckless, but possibly brilliant. What if he removed the wealth from the equation entirely? What if he became poor? The next morning, Chibiz called his trusted lawyer and friend, Tund, to his office. You want to do what? Tund nearly choked on his coffee. I want to disappear. Take the children to a village, live as a common man, and find someone who will love them for who they are, not what they represent. Chibiz, you're a public figure. Your face is on billboards across Nigeria, not in rural Ogun State. I checked. There's a small village called Aitoro, 3 hours from Lagos, minimal internet penetration, and my company has 0 presence there. I can grow a beard, wear simple clothes, work as a mechanic. I learned auto repair in university before my father's company took off. Tund studied his friend's face. The desperation there was real, and if you find someone, Then I'll know she's real. I'll tell her the truth eventually, but not before I'm certain. This is madness. This is fatherhood. 3 days later, a rusty truck pulled up to a small compound in Aitoro village. The landlord, Papa Sola, squinted at the bearded man and 3 children climbing out. "You're the mechanic who called about the shop space?" Papa Sola asked. "Yes, sir. My name is Chibuzer. These are my children. We're starting fresh after their mother passed." The lie tasted bitter, but it was close enough to the truth. The children looked around with wide eyes. No mansion, no pool, no marble floors. Just red dirt, chicken scratching in yards, and the smell with smoke. "Papa, where are we?" Neoma asked. "Home for now," Chibi said softly. "A place where people will see who you really are." The small 2-bedroom apartment was a universe away from their Lagos estate. One ceiling fan, flickering lights, and furniture that had seen better decades. But as Chibi's unpacked their few bags, he deliberately brought only essentials. He felt something unexpected. Hope. That afternoon, while setting up his mechanic shop in the space Papa Sola had shown him, Chibi's heard laughter. Pure, genuine child laughter. He stepped outside and saw his triplets playing football with local children in the dusty street, their expensive private school uniforms replaced with simple clothes. Malik was smiling, actually smiling. "Your children are beautiful," a voice said behind him. Chibi's turned to see an elderly woman carrying a basket of tomatoes. "Thank you, Mama. May God bless them and send them a mother who will cherish them. Children need softness in this hard world." As she walked away, Chibi's wondered if that mother was somewhere in this village, living a simple life, unaware that 3 children were about to need her desperately. If only he knew how prophetic and how tragically complicated that thought would become. Folake Adewale's fingers moved with practiced precision across the fabric, her sewing machine humming its familiar rhythm. Through the open window of her small tailoring shop, she could hear the village coming alive. Market sellers calling out their wares, motorcycles puttering past, children's voices rising in play. 5 years in Aitoro had given her peace, or at least a quiet numbness that resembled peace. The nightmares, though, never stopped. Every night. She heard them. 3 babies cry in the darkness, calling for a mother who'd been told they never drew breath. The hospital in Lagos had shown her 3 tiny wrapped bundles, hadn't let her hold them, rushed her away in her grief-stricken haze. Stillborn triplets. A tragedy, Miss Adewale. Please sign here. She'd signed. What else could a 19-year-old girl do? Abandoned by the man who'd promised her everything. Now 24, Folake had rebuilt a life from ashes. She was the village's best seamstress, known for her kindness and a sadness that never quite left her eyes. She sponsored 3 children's school fees every year, always 3, and couldn't explain why. Auntie Folake. A small voice jolted her from her thoughts. 3 children stood in her doorway, dusty from play, eyes wide with curiosity. 2 girls and a boy, identical in their features, like mirrors of each other. Folake's heart stopped, then started again, painfully. Triplets. "Good afternoon," the boy said politely. "We're new here. Our papa said you're the best seamstress. Can you fix my shirt? It tore." Folake couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The room tilted sideways. One of the girls stepped closer. "Auntie, are you okay?" When Folake finally found her voice, it came out strangled. Yes. Come in." As the children entered, chattering about their new home and their papa's mechanic shop, Folake's hands trembled. She couldn't stop staring. The boy had a birthmark on his neck. Same place she'd seen in her dreams. One girl had a small dimple on her right cheek only when she smiled fully. The other had slightly wider set eyes. No, this was madness. Her children were dead. The hospital had told her. She grieved for 5 years. But why did her arms ache to hold these 3? Why did her body recognize them like phantom limbs suddenly restored? "What are your names?" she whispered. "I'm Malik. This is Zara, and that's Neoma. We're 5 years old. We're triplets. 5 years old. Born March 15th, 2020. The same day. The same day as her. Auntie Folake, you're crying, Neoma said, her small face concerned. Folake hadn't realized. She wiped her face quickly. I'm sorry, I once knew triplets. You remind me of them. Where are they now? Zara asked softly. Gone, Folake whispered. They're gone. A tall, bearded man appeared in the doorway. Children, don't bother the nice lady. Come. But Folake's hands had already reached out, touching Malik's torn shirt, and the moment her fingers made contact with the child's arm, something electric passed between them. Malik gasped softly, and Folake felt it too, a connection she couldn't name but absolutely knew. The man, their father, studied her with intense eyes. I apologize for them disturbing you. No disturbance, Folake managed. I'll fix the shirt. No charge. I insist on paying. No. Her voice was firm. For the children, no charge. As the man ushered the triplets out, Neoma broke free and ran back, throwing her small arms around Folake's waist. You smell like sunshine, the little girl whispered. Like my dreams. Folake's knees nearly buckled. That night, she lay awake, Malik's torn shirt clutched to her chest. She brought it to her face and inhaled and nearly screamed. The scent, she knew this scent, had been smelling it in her nightmares for 5 years. Her hands shaking, she reached for the small box under her bed. Inside were the only things she had from that terrible day. 3 hospital bracelets the nurse had given her before rushing her out. Keepsakes, the woman had said with 2 bright eyes, since you can't hold them. Baby A, Baby B, Baby C. Mother, Folake Adewale. Birth date, March 15th, 2020. She stared at the bracelets, then at the door where 3 living, breathing 5-year-olds had stood hours ago. No, she told herself firmly. You're going mad with grief. Your baby's died. The hospital said so. But that night, when she finally slept, she dreamed of 3 children calling her Mama, and they had Malik's birthmark, Zara's dimple, and Neoma's wide eyes. The next morning, Folake returned Malik's repaired shirt. The children insisted she stay for breakfast. Their father, Chibuzer, had made akra and pap, simple and perfect, but made with clear love. As Folake sat at their small table, Neoma climbed into her lap without asking. Malik leaned against her shoulder. Zara held her hand. Chibuzer watched from the kitchen, his expression unreadable. They don't usually warm up to people, he said quietly. Folake stroked Neoma's hair and found herself humming, a lullaby she'd sung to her swollen belly 5 years ago. Before everything ended, all 3 children went still. That song, Zara whispered. Mama used to, in my dreams, someone sings that song. Folake's hand froze mid-stroke. Chibuzer's eyes locked with hers, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Recognition. Impossibility. Fear. Where'd you learn that song? He asked carefully. I don't remember. Folake lied. I've always known it. But she did remember. She'd made it up, alone in her room at 19, pregnant and terrified, singing a baby she already loved more than life. A song no one else should know. So why were these children humming along? The weeks that followed felt like living in a beautiful dream that Folake knew would shatter. Every morning, 3 small faces appeared at her tailoring shop before school. Every afternoon, they returned with stories about their day. Every evening, she found excuses to visit their compound, bringing extra food she'd accidentally made too much of, and every night, Chibuzer watched her with those intense, searching eyes. You don't have to keep doing this, he said one evening as Folake helped the triplets with homework. You've been so generous with your time. I want to, Folake replied, her heart twisting. Each moment with these children felt like water to someone dying of thirst. They're special. They think you're special too. Neoma asked me yesterday if you could be her mother. The textbook slipped from Folake's hands. I told her it doesn't work that way, Chibuzer continued softly. You can't just claim someone as family because you want them. But what if they already are family? The words screamed in Folake's mind, but she swallowed them down. She was being ridiculous. Grief-mad. The hospital had shown her the bodies. Small, rapt, silent. Except, had she actually seen their faces? Or just bundles of cloth? Auntie Folake, you're thinking too loud, Malik said, his small hand touching her arm. Your face gets all tight when you're sad thinking. How did he know that? How did this 5-year-old read her so perfectly? Tell us about when you were little, Zara asked, nestling against Folake's side. Did you have a mama who sang to you? Folake's throat closed. No, sweetheart. My mother died when I was young. I grew up in an orphanage. Like us, Neoma exclaimed. Papa said we're orphans too. Our first mama died when we were born, and then our second mama, Papa's wife, died 3 years ago. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. You're adopted? Folake's voice came from somewhere far away. Chiboza's expression shifted. Surprise, then something like caution. Yes, my late wife and I adopted them when they were newborns. Why? What date? Folake's heart was a war drum. What exact date did you adopt them? March 17th, 2020. 2 days after they were born. Why does it? What hospital? Folake, what's wrong? She stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. What hospital gave you these children? Chibuza rose too, confused and defensive. St. Catherine's in Lagos. They told us the biological mother had abandoned. I didn't abandon them. The words exploded from Folake before she could stop them. They told me my babies were dead. All 3 of them dead. The room went silent. 3 little faces looked up, confused. Chibuza had gone pale. Folake's chest heaved with 5 years of buried grief, erupting like a volcano. What are you saying? Chibuza whispered. March 15th, 2020. I gave birth to triplets at St. Catherine's Hospital. 2 girls and a boy. They showed me bundles. They said all 3 were stillborn. I held nothing. I saw nothing. Just cloth. Tears streamed down her face. They gave me bracelets. Keepsakes. Then rushed me out the same day. Neoma had started crying too, though she didn't understand why. Malik and Zara clung to each other. Chibuza pulled out his phone with shaking hands, scrolling frantically. My wife handled the adoption. She said, she showed me papers. The mother had signed away her rights. I signed nothing. I was told they were dead. He found what he was looking for and thrust the phone at her. An adoption certificate. The mother's signature line, Folake Adewale. But the signature was wrong. The handwriting was nothing like hers. I didn't sign this, she breathed. Someone forged it. The implications hung in the air like smoke. A hospital, a desperate couple, a poor young woman alone. How easy it would have been to tell one side the babies died, tell the other side the mother abandoned them, and broker an illegal adoption for profit. We need to test, Chibuza said hoarsely. DNA. We need to be absolutely certain before we... I'm certain, Folake interrupted, dropping to her knees in front of the triplets. With trembling hands, she pulled the small plastic bag from her pocket. 3 faded hospital bracelets. Baby A, Baby B, Baby C, Mother, Folake Adewale. She held one up to Zara's wrist. 2 small now, but the printed code. Chibuza grabbed his phone again, pulling up photos of the children's birth documentation. Zoomed in on the hospital identification numbers. They matched. Oh, God, he whispered. Oh, God, what do we do? But Folake wasn't listening anymore. She was pulling all 3 children into her arms. Finally holding the baby she'd mourned for 5 years. They were real. They were alive. They were hers. Mama? Neoma whispered against her chest. Are you our first mama? The one who was supposed to sing to us? Folake could only nod, her body shaking with sobs that tore through 5 years of hollow grief. Malik and Zara understood then, in an intuitive way children do. They burrowed deeper into her embrace, their small arms tight around her neck. You came back, Zara breathed. In my dreams, someone promised she'd come back. Across the room, Chibuza slid down the wall, his face in his hands. His wife, the woman he'd loved and lost, had built their family on a lie. had stolen these children from their mother, had paid someone to commit an unforgivable crime, and he'd never known, had raised them as his own, loved them as his own, while their real mother grieved alone in poverty. "I'm so sorry," he choked out. "Folake, I swear I didn't know. If I'd known—" "You were lied to too," Folake said, her voice muffled against Neoma's hair. "We both were." But the truth was still a knife between them. He'd had 5 years with her children. 5 years she could never get back. First steps, first words, first days of school, all stolen. The children, sensing the tension, held both of them. Malik took his father's hand and Folake's hand and pressed them together. "We're a family now," he asked hopefully. "All of us." Neither adult could answer. There was too much pain, too much betrayal, too much impossible truth to process. But their hands stayed joined in Malik's small grip, connected by 3 children who belonged to both of them and neither of them, all at once. The DNA test took 3 days. 3 days of Folake unable to eat or sleep. 3 days of Chibuzor making frantic calls to lawyers. 3 days of the triplets confused and frightened by the tension crackling between the 2 adults they loved most. When the results came, they were unnecessary. Everyone already knew. 99.9% probability of maternity. The doctor read, "Ms. Adewale is definitively the biological mother of all 3 children." Folake's knees buckled. Chibuzor caught her, and for a moment they clung to each other. 2 people whose lives have been shattered by the same crime. "I need to know who did this," Folake said, her voice hard. "I need the names." Chibuzor had already started investigating. With his resources Folake still didn't know the full extent of, he'd hired a private investigator who begun unraveling the conspiracy. The truth was uglier than either imagined. St. Catherine's Hospital had been running an illegal adoption ring for over a decade. They targeted poor, single mothers who came in alone. No family support, no advocates. They'd tell the mothers the babies died, tell wealthy couples of mothers had abandoned them, forge documents, and pocket massive fees. Folake and Chibuzor had been perfect marks. Her, 19, alone broke. Chibuzor's wife, desperate after years of failed fertility treatments, wealthy enough to pay handsomely, and sick enough with early-stage cancer that she rushed the process without thorough vetting. "There are at least 40 other cases," the investigator reported. 40 other families torn apart. Folake vomited when she heard that. 40 other mothers like her, grieving ghosts while their children lived. 40 other children who'd never know their real parents. "We're pressing charges," Chibuzor said. "Criminal charges, civil suits, everything. I'm contacting every family from that hospital's records. This ends now." "Your wife," Folake said quietly. "Did she know?" Chibuzor's face crumpled. "I don't know. The investigator found her emails with the hospital director. There are hints, questions she asked that suggest she might have suspected something wasn't right. But she died before—" He couldn't finish. Before she could face it, Folake finished. The betrayal was multi-layered. Chibuzor had lost his wife 3 years ago, mourned her as a good person, raised her memory as sacred to children. Now he had to reconcile that the woman he loved might have knowingly participated in stealing children. But there was another elephant in the room, growing larger by the minute. "You lied to me too," Folake said one evening, after the children were asleep. They were sitting in his small living room, the space between them heavy with unspoken hurt. "You're not a poor mechanic, are you?" Chibuzor's hands tightened on his knees. "No. Who are you?" "Chibiz Okafor, CEO of TechWave Industries. I have significant wealth." Folake laughed, but it was bitter. "So this was all a game? Pretending to be poor, testing me to see if I'm a gold digger?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Chibiz?" She spat his real name like poison. "You came here with my children, pretending to be someone you're not, while I've been searching for them for 5 years. Do you know what I've been through? I quit university, lost my scholarship, worked 3 jobs to pay off hospital bills for babies I thought were dead. I came to this village to escape the memories, and you walked in with them like it was some social experiment. I didn't know they were yours." His voice rose. I thought I was protecting them from women who only wanted my money. I thought I was being a good father. You are a good father, Folake said, and now she was crying. That's what makes this so hard. You love them. You've raised them. You've been their whole world. And I have a biological claim, but I've missed everything. I don't know how Malik likes his eggs, or what makes Neoma laugh, or how to braid Zara's hair the way she likes. I'll teach you, Chibiz said desperately. Folake, I'll teach you everything. We can co-parent. Can we? She stood abruptly. You're a billionaire. You have lawyers and power, and the life they've known for 5 years. I'm a village seamstress. What judge will give me custody? What do I even have to offer them compared to what you can give? You're their mother, and you're their father. That's what they call you. That's what you've been. Her voice broke. I don't know how to share them. I don't know how to be grateful to you for loving them when every day you had with them was stolen from me. The doorbell rang before Chibiz could respond. He opened it to find a courier with an urgent envelope. The hospital director had fled the country. 2 doctors were in custody. And St. Catherine's Hospital was being shut down permanently. Justice was coming, cold and official, but it couldn't give Folake back 5 years. That night, Neoma woke screaming from a nightmare. Both adults rushed to her room. I dreamed Mama Folake left forever, she sobbed. And Papa too. And we were alone again. Chibiz and Folake looked at each other over the child's head, both their faces wet with tears. We're not going anywhere, Folake whispered, stroking Neoma's braids. We promise, Chibiz added, but neither knew if it was a promise they could keep. The lawyers were already circling, preparing custody arguments. The media had gotten wind of the story. Billionaire's children actually kidnapped from poor mother made for sensational headlines. The fairy tale was over. Reality, with all its legal complications and emotional landmines, had arrived, and 3 children, innocent in all of this, were caught in the middle. The custody hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. 6 weeks of lawyers, interviews, media circus, and 3 increasingly anxious children who couldn't understand why the 2 people they loved most kept talking about arrangements and visitation rights. Then Malik collapsed at school. The call came while Folake was in the middle of a meeting with her lawyer. Chibiz's frantic voice. It's Malik. He's at the hospital. They're running tests. It's serious. Folake ran. Didn't grab her bag. Didn't think. Just ran the 3 miles to the nearest hospital where they'd taken him. Found Chibiz in the waiting room, his billionaire composure shattered, looking exactly like what he was, a terrified father. What happened? He's been tired lately. We thought it was stress from everything, but it's his blood. Something about his blood counts being wrong. When the doctor came out, her face was grave. Mr. Okafor, Ms. Adewale. Malik has a rare form of leukemia. It's aggressive. He needs a bone marrow transplant, and soon. The world tilted sideways. Test me, Chibiz said immediately. Test me right now. And me? Folake added. The doctor hesitated. Mr. Okafor, you're not biologically related. The chances of you being a match are astronomically low. Ms. Adewale, as his mother, you're the best chance we have. But, she paused, we'll need to test the siblings too. Twins often match, and while triplets aren't as high a probability, it's still worth testing. Whatever he needs, Folake said, take whatever you need from me. The test took 2 days. 2 days of watching Malik grow weaker, his bright energy dimming. Zara and Neoma refused to leave his bedside, curling up on either side of him like bookends. Papa, Malik whispered one evening, his small hand in Chibiz's large one. Am I going to die like second mama? Chibiz's composure finally broke. No, son. No. We're going to fix this. Well, first mama, and you stop fighting if I get better. Across the bed, Folake's heart shattered. We're not fighting, baby, she said softly. You are. You fight with lawyer words and quiet faces. I don't want a visitation schedule. I want both of you, together always. Zara and Neoma nodded, their eyes too old for 5-year-olds. We don't care about rich or poor or who found us first. Zara added. We just want a family. A real one. The test results came back. Folake was a perfect match. Her bone marrow could save Malik's life. But there was another revelation in the genetic testing, one the doctor delivered with careful professionalism. Ms. Adewale, were you aware that you have a genetic marker that makes you susceptible to this form of leukemia? It's rare but inheritable. All 3 children carry it. They'll need monitoring throughout their lives. So this could happen to Zara or Neoma too? Folake's voice was barely a whisper. It's possible. Not certain, but possible. Chabiz watched Folake's face transform, watched the fierce, primal protectiveness of motherhood override everything else. In that moment, he saw what his wealth could never buy, the biological imperative to protect one's children, written into bone and blood. Do the transplant, Folake said. Take whatever you need. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. But the night before, as Chabiz sat alone in the hospital chapel, he felt someone sit beside him. I'm sorry, he said without looking, for all of it, for not questioning my wife harder about the adoption, for the deception in the village, for having 5 years with them that should have been yours. I'm sorry, too, Folake replied quietly, for blaming you for something you didn't know, for being so angry I couldn't see that you love them as much as I do. What do we do now? We save our son. Then we figure out the rest. Our son, not my son or your son. Ours. The transplant was successful. The bone marrow took. Within weeks, Malik's color returned. His energy rebounded. His blood counts normalized. And while he recovered, something else healed too. Chabiz taught Folake how Malik liked his eggs scrambled with lots of pepper. Folake showed Chabiz a lullaby in full, all 17 verses she'd written. Together, they learned to braid Zara's hair exactly right. Neoma learned she could climb onto either lap when she needed comfort. The lawyers presented their custody arguments. The media clamored for statements. But in the hospital room, the 5 of them, 2 adults and 3 children, had already made their decision. I'm dropping the custody suit, Folake told her lawyer. I'm not pursuing sole custody. Chabiz told his. What are you proposing? Both lawyers asked, confused. A family, they answered together. 3 months after Malik's transplant, on a beach in Lagos, a small wedding took place. No media, no billionaire extravaganza, just close friends and family. Folake wore a simple white dress she'd sewn herself. Chabiz wore a traditional outfit. The triplets wore matching outfits and served as the entire wedding party. Do you take this woman to be your wife? The officiant asked. Chabiz looked at Folake, the woman whose children had been stolen, who'd grieved for 5 years, who'd saved their son's life with her own bone marrow, who'd forgiven the unforgivable because 3 children needed her to. I do, he said firmly. Do you take this man to be your husband? Folake looked at Chabiz, the man who'd loved her children before he knew they were hers, who'd dressed them and fed them and worried over them, who'd exposed a corruption network to bring her justice, who'd offer to sign away his rights if that's what she'd wanted. I do, she whispered. You may kiss. They didn't hear the rest. They were too busy being tackled by 3 laughing children shouting, We're a real family now, forever and ever. The settlement with St. Catherine's Hospital was massive. Chabiz used it to establish a foundation, the Lost and Found Initiative, dedicated to reuniting families separated by illegal adoptions and supporting single mothers in crisis. Folake became the face of it, telling her story in courtrooms and on news programs, helping 40 other mothers find their stolen children, ensuring no one else would grieve ghosts while their babies lived. They moved to a new house in Lagos, not Chabiz's old mansion, but something smaller, warmer, filled with a seamstress's workshop and a mechanic's garage. Chabiz discovered he loved the hobby, and 3 children's laughter echoing through every room. On their first night in the new house, Malik climbed into bed between them. Papa? Mama? Can I ask something? Always, they both said, was it all worth it? All the bad stuff that happened, to get to here. Folake and Chabiz looked at each other over his head. 5 years of grief, betrayal, deception, a life-threatening illness, a public scandal, legal battles, media intrusion, Yes, Folek said, kissing Malik's forehead. Every second of pain was worth this moment. Every single one, Chabiz agreed. Because in the end, love wasn't about biology or wealth or who found whom first. It was about choosing every day to build something together. 3 children had lost 2 mothers and found their way back to one. 1 woman had mourned death and discovered life. 1 man had sought authenticity and found redemption. And together, they became what they'd all been searching for, a family real and whole, built not on lies but on the hardest truth of all, that love, real love, was worth fighting for.